When WWII pushed food systems to collapse, desperate governments unearthed forgotten grains that could resurrect dead soil in months. Millet, amaranth, and sorghum didn't just prevent starvation. They transformed bombed-out fields into fertile ground while secretly feeding millions. These same ancient grains can revive your lifeless garden today, but what's the buried wartime secret modern farming forgot? During the chaos of World War II, countries didn't just face the scary battles. They also had to figure out how to feed everyone when food was running out everywhere. People started growing victory gardens in their backyards, empty lots, and even in parks. Farmers were working as hard as they could, and governments were looking through old history books to find crops that were tough, grew fast, and could survive in bad dirt without much help. What they found were some really old grains called millet, amaranth, and sorghum. These weren't new plants that modern farmers had just invented. They were ancient crops that people had been growing since the very beginning of farming. For a long time, everyone had forgotten about them because wheat, rice, and corn seemed better. But when the world was at its darkest point during the war, these old grains saved the day. Here's something most gardeners today don't know. These same grains can bring dead, lifeless dirt back to life in just a few months, while also giving you healthy food to eat. Their story is like a secret war strategy that got forgotten, but it's also a perfect plan for fixing bad soil that any gardener can use right now. Let me tell you why these ancient grains became like weapons for survival during World War II. The war put more stress on food systems than ever before in history. Ships couldn't deliver food because of battles at sea. Countries couldn't buy food from other places. Good farmland in Europe and Asia got destroyed by bombs, tanks, and trenches from all the fighting. In Britain, they started something called the Dig for Victory campaign. This told people to grow food anywhere they possibly could. In America, they called them war gardens to help people rely less on the food supply system that was breaking down. Governments were desperately looking for crops that could grow fast, survive terrible conditions, and still give people enough calories to live on. Millet, amaranth, and sorghum had been grown for thousands of years in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. But in modern times, people had stopped using them because wheat and corn seemed to give more food. The war made everyone take a second look at these old crops. They weren't just tough. They could actually grow in worn-out soil and help bring dead fields back to life when regular crops wouldn't even try to grow there. The soldiers fighting at the front lines probably never knew this, but their food was being supported by these ancient grains that were quietly helping keep everyone fed back home. Now let me explain the science behind how these grains can fix broken soil. What makes these plants so amazing for bringing soil back to life isn't just that they're tough. It's the special things they do underground that you can't see. Millet grows tiny, thin roots that spread everywhere. These roots push into hard-packed dirt and break it open, letting air get down where plant roots need it. Sorghum has really deep roots that go way down into the soil and bring nutrients up from deep underground. When you plow the leftover plants back into the dirt, they turn into rich, dark soil food. Amaranth is special because it can grow and do well even when the soil doesn't have much food for plants. While it's growing, its leaves create shade that stops weeds from growing and keeps the soil from washing away in the rain. Together, these grains don't just survive in bad dirt, they actually heal it. Their roots feed the tiny living things in the soil that help plants grow. When the plants die and rot, they make the soil richer. And while they're growing, their thick leaves protect the soil from getting dried out by sun or blown away by wind. In just one growing season, dirt that looked completely dead can start showing signs of life again. During the 1940s, farmers in places that got bombed or where the soil was worn out from growing too many crops often planted these tough grains as a quick fix. In Eastern Europe and Asia, people grew millet not just for food, but also to cover the soil quickly so it wouldn't get any worse. In the United States, sorghum became popular again in areas affected by the Dust Bowl because it could survive without much water when almost nothing else would grow. Amaranth wasn't planted as much, but some people called it a wonder food because it had lots of protein and could grow almost anywhere. Today, these same tricks still work. Modern gardeners who have heavy clay soil, sandy dirt, or garden beds that are worn out from years of planting can use these ancient grains exactly like wartime farmers did. Plant them as cover crops to bring balance back to the soil, protect what's good about it, and get the land ready for future gardens. Think of these plants as living fertilizer. Picture a patch of hard gray dirt where honestly almost nothing grows. When you plant millet there, it creates a web of tiny roots that work like a natural rototiller, breaking up the earth gently instead of with metal tools. As the plants grow bigger, they pull carbon out of the air and store it in their stems and leaves. When these plants die and rot, they turn into rich soil food. Sorghum adds another layer of help by reaching deep down into the soil and bringing minerals back up to the top where future plants can use them. Amaranth brings toughness to the mix. It grows well even when there aren't many nutrients in the soil, and its leaves break down quickly into nitrogen-rich compost. Unlike chemical fertilizers that give plants a quick burst of food but often leave the soil worse than before, these grains make the soil naturally richer. They build better soil structure, feed the tiny living things that help plants grow, and store fertility for seasons to come. This is the same idea that wartime planners used, and it works just as well in a modern backyard garden today. Here's one of the best parts that people often forget. These grains don't just fix the soil, they also give you good food to eat. You can eat amaranth leaves fresh like spinach, and its seeds are packed with protein. Millet cooks fast into porridge or can be ground into flour for bread. It's still a main food in parts of Africa and India. Sorghum makes grain that people use for flatbreads, sweet syrups, and even beer. During the war, having plants that did two jobs made them super important. They let the land heal while also putting food on people's tables. Today, gardeners can use this same smart thinking. Grow a crop that not only gets your soil ready for future vegetables, but also gives you something to harvest and eat right away. Very few soil building tricks give you that kind of double reward. Looking back at World War II, bringing back millet, amaranth, and sorghum wasn't just by chance. It happened because people desperately needed it during a crisis. But it teaches us lessons that go way beyond wartime into our own time of climate problems and worn-out soil. These crops show us that the answers to today's problems often come from older, simpler ways of doing things. Ways that people tested for hundreds of years before big industrial farming made everyone forget about them. Gardeners today can rediscover what wartime farmers knew. The path to growing lots of healthy food starts with healthy soil. And healthy soil can be brought back to life by planting the right crops. Ancient grains aren't just old things to read about in history books. They're tools that are still waiting to be used in backyard gardens, city lots, or small farms. The story of these forgotten World War II grains isn't just history. It's a reminder that healing and bringing things back to life is possible even in the worst conditions. By planting millet, sorghum, or amaranth, modern gardeners can heal their soil the same way wartime farmers healed fields that were damaged by war. They can grow food, build fertility, and leave their soil richer than they found it. These grains that got overshadowed by modern crops are still some of the most powerful helpers for anyone who cares about being self-reliant and taking care of the earth for the long run. If this hidden chapter of history gets you excited, take the lesson from the past and put it to work in your own garden today. And before you go, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning for more forgotten survival strategies. Powerful wartime stories and timeless lessons that still matter now. Share this video so others can rediscover these grains and join in bringing back the wisdom of the past.